The scene opens on a pitch-black screen, slowly fading in with a low, haunting orchestral hum that builds tension like a heartbeat in the dark, drawing viewers into an atmosphere of mystery and unease. A deep, gravelly voiceover begins, measured and intense. Picture this: a murderer slipping through the cracks of time, living among us for decades. Their dark secrets locked away in forgotten files and faded memories, evading justice as years turn into lifetimes. As the words hang in the air, the visuals cut to a rapid montage. Grainy black and white newspaper headlines flashing across the screen like ghosts from the past. Unsolved murder shocks community. Killer still at large, intercut with swirling animations of a double helix DNA strand glowing in ethereal blue, symbolizing the hidden truths waiting to be unlocked, and shadowy silhouettes of figures lurking in misty alleys, their faces obscured to heighten the sense of anonymity and dread. The music swells with a subtle electronic pulse, mimicking the breakthrough of modern forensics, before the voiceover delivers the punch. But in the shadows of the forgotten, science strikes back today. We delve into 10 chilling cold cases that were finally shattered wide open in 2024 and 2025, reminding us all that justice, no matter how delayed, refuses to stay buried forever. This hook, clocking in at just 30 seconds, is designed to grab attention instantly by tapping into universal fears of unresolved evil and the thrill of resolution, using sensory elements like sound and visuals to immerse the audience and set an addictive true crime tone that promises revelations ahead. Transitioning seamlessly into the intro, the screen brightens slightly to archival footage of old crime scenes, yellow tape fluttering in the wind, detectives poring over evidence boxes in dimly lit rooms, while the voiceover continues in a more explanatory, empathetic cadence. Cold cases are the ghosts of the criminal justice system, murders, disappearances, and heinous acts left unsolved for years, sometimes decades, due to dead-end leads, outdated technology, or simply the passage of time that erodes memories and evidence alike. These lingering mysteries not only torment investigators who carry the weight of unfinished business, but also devastate families left in perpetual limbo, clinging to hope amid the silence. Yet in recent years, revolutionary advancements in forensic science have breathed new life into these dormant files. Genetic genealogy, where DNA from crime scenes is matched against vast public databases to trace family trees and pinpoint suspects. Enhanced ballistics analysis that re-examines bullets with laser precision, and AI-driven pattern recognition that connects dots across unrelated cases. In this 20-minute compilation, we'll journey through 10 such triumphs of tenacity and tech, all resolved in the groundbreaking years of 2024 and 2025, from brutal slayings in remote highways to long-concealed identities in urban shadows. These stories aren't just tales of tragedy, they're beacons of hope, illustrating how even the coldest trails can warm with persistence, and how the pursuit of truth can finally grant peace to those who've waited far too long. Spanning about a minute, this intro expands on the hook by educating viewers on the why behind cold cases, explaining the emotional and technical hurdles while building anticipation for the main content, incorporating educational visuals like animated timelines of forensic milestones, for example, from fingerprinting in the 1900s to crisp-edited DNA today, and subtle maps highlighting case locations to ground the narrative in reality, ensuring the audience feels informed, engaged, and eager to uncover the details without overwhelming them with jargon. In the quiet, sun-baked stretches of Riverside County, California, back in 1979, a teenage girl's life was brutally cut short, her body discarded like refuse along Highway 243, strangled and left in the desolate landscape that seemed to swallow secrets as easily as it did the heat of the day. Esther Gonzalez was just 17 years old, full of the dreams and uncertainties that come with youth, perhaps hitchhiking or simply in the wrong place at the wrong time, when she crossed paths with evil incarnate. Investigators at the time pored over the sparse evidence, interviewing potential witnesses, chasing down leads that flickered like mirages in the desert air. But nothing solidified, no suspects emerged, no confessions came forward, and as the years dragged on into decades, the case grew colder than the winter nights in those mountains, filed away in boxers that gathered dust while Esther's family clung to fading photographs and unanswered questions about why their vibrant daughter, sister, and friend had been taken so violently. The pain of not knowing gnawed at them relentlessly. Birthdays passing, without her, holidays shadowed by absence. The community occasionally whispering about the unsolved mystery, but ultimately moving on as time eroded the urgency. Yet, in November 2024, after more than 45 years of silence, the Riverside County Regional Cold Case Homicide Team breathed new life into the investigation, harnessing the power of forensic genetic genealogy, a revolutionary tool that uploads crime scene DNA to public databases, building family trees from distant relatives who voluntarily shared their genetic information for ancestry purposes. Through meticulous matching and cross-referencing, the profile leads straight to Louis Randy Williamson, a man who had died in 2014 without ever facing justice in life, but whose DNA left behind an indelible trail that confirmed he was the perpetrator. Williamson's background revealed a troubled individual capable of such an act, though details of his motives remained shrouded, perhaps a random encounter turned deadly or something more calculated, but the match was irrefutable, providing Esther's surviving family with a name for the monster who stole her future. Tears flowed anew, as relatives spoke of bittersweet closure, the agony of decades, finally tempered by the knowledge that science had prevailed where traditional methods had failed, proving that even graves cannot hide the truth forever, in an era where DNA speaks louder than alibis or forgotten memories. Shifting northward to the flatlands of North Aurora, Illinois, another shadow from the past lingered over a community haunted by the abduction and murder of Kathy Halla. More than 4 decades ago, her life extinguished in a crime that linked to darker patterns of serial predation. Kathy was a young woman navigating the challenges of the late 1970s or early 1980s. Exact details blurred by time, but the horror crystal clear when she vanished, only for her body to be recovered later, bearing the marks of a violent end that suggested she had fought desperately against her attacker. Police in those days exhausted every avenue, canvassing neighborhoods, pursuing tips that led nowhere, and even suspecting connections to known predators, but without the forensic precision available today. The trail evaporated, leaving her family in a purgatory of grief where hope flickered dimly against the relentless march of years. Mothers and fathers aged, siblings built lives, shadowed by loss. And the case file thickened with unanswered pleas until 2024, when advancements in DNA analysis reopened the door to resolution. Evidence preserved from Kathy's clothing, tiny traces that once yielded nothing, was retested, using state-of-the-art laboratories capable of amplifying degraded samples, resulting in a match that was staggering in its probability. 9.4 trillion to 1, pointing unequivocally to Bruce Lindahl, a prolific serial killer who terrorized the region before meeting his own end in 1981, dying by suicide or accident, depending on accounts, but evading earthly judgment for his crimes. Lindahl's reign of terror included multiple confirmed victims. His modus operandi, matching Kathy's case in chilling detail, the abduction, the sexual assault implied, the disposal of the body as if she were disposable. For Kathy's loved ones, learning that their nightmare was part of a larger pattern brought a complex mix of validation and renewed sorrow, knowing she wasn't targeted specifically but fell victim to a monster who hunted indiscriminately. The North Aurora Police Department announced the closure with solemn pride, emphasizing how persistence and technology converged to name the unnameable, offering families not vengeance but vindication. A reminder that serial killers' legacies of fear can be dismantled piece by piece through modern forensics. Deep in the rural expanses of Ada County, Idaho, the year 1980 marked a tragedy that would echo through generations. When 25-year-old Mary Tracy was found stabbed to death in tall grass beside a lonely highway, her body discovered by chance passersby who stumbled upon a scene of unimaginable brutality. Mary was a young woman with her whole life ahead, perhaps traveling or seeking adventure, when violence intercepted her path, multiple knife wounds telling a story of a frantic struggle against an assailant driven by rage or opportunity. Detectives worked tirelessly in the immediate aftermath, scouring the area for clues, appealing to the public for witnesses. But the transient nature of highway crimes, strangers crossing paths fleetingly combined with limited technology, meant leads dried up quickly, the case relegated to cold storage as families pleaded year after year for breakthroughs that never came. Reopened in 2023 amid renewed cold case initiatives. It wasn't until June 2024 that DNA profiling, enhanced by cutting-edge techniques, delivered a high-probability match to Charles Nicholas Strain, a man who had died in prison in 2007 while serving time for unrelated offenses. His criminal history hinting at the capacity for such violence, though never previously linked to Mary's murder. Strain's life was one of brushes with the law, perhaps escalating to this fatal encounter, but his death meant no trial, no confession. Only the cold satisfaction of identification for Mary's relatives who had endured decades wondering if her killer walked free. The Ada County Sheriff's Office highlighted the role of persistent investigation. How evidence preserved meticulously paid dividends when science caught up, granting peace to a family that had organized vigils, kept her memory alive through social media, and refused to let her story fade into oblivion. In the heart of Oklahoma City, a home invasion turned deadly nearly 50 years ago when Leila Johnston, a 68-year-old woman living alone, was assaulted. Leila was described by those who knew her as independent and resilient, a fixture in her neighborhood until that fateful day in 1976 when an intruder shattered her safety, leaving behind a scene of chaos and clues that, at the time, led nowhere despite thorough police work. The case stagnated as evidence degraded and memories faded. But in December 2024, the Oklahoma City Police Department's Cold Case Unit achieved a milestone by employing genealogy research for the first time in a homicide, comparing crime scene DNA to ancestry databases and tracing it to Charles Droke, a man who himself became a victim of murder later in life, closing a loop of violence without courtroom drama. Droke's connection brought answers to Leila's descendants, who spoke emotionally of finally understanding the why, even if motives remained Speculative, perhaps burglary gone wrong, or something more personal, lost to time. This resolution underscored the transformative impact of genetic tools, turning dormant files into active pursuits and reminding communities that no case is truly beyond reach. Traveling to Dunn County, Wisconsin, the 1974 stabbing of hitchhiker Mary Kay Schley remained one of the longest unsolved cases in the state. Her body found along a roadside after accepting a ride that proved fatal. The killer striking swiftly and vanishing into the heiress transient culture where hitchhiking was common but perilous. Mary was in her early 20s seeking freedom on the open road when her journey ended in terror. Investigators chasing shadows for 50 years until DNA testing in 2024 led to the arrest of 84-year-old John Miller, a living suspect who faced charges in a rare instance of late-life accountability. Miller's advanced age meant a trial fraught with challenges, but the identification alone electrified the case, offering Mary's family the chance for justice in court rather than mere closure through death. Moving into 2025, the infamous Bear Brook State Park murders in New Hampshire, where bodies were discovered in barrels over years, saw further resolution when the last unidentified victim, known as the middle child, was confirmed as Ree Rasmussen, biological daughter of serial killer Terry Rasmussen, through advanced genetic analysis by Firebird Forensics and the DNA Doe Project, unraveling familial ties in a case synonymous with horror. In Nashville, Tennessee, remains found in 1987 under a crawlspace were finally identified in 2025 as Sheila Cummings, missing since 1984, linking definitively to confessed killer James Schaefer via DNA after a relative's tip prompted re-examination. Virginia authorities in 2025 named 4-year-old Carl Matthew Bryant, killed in 1972 and unidentified for over 50 years, using hair samples for genetic profiling matched to his mother's exhumed DNA, suspecting family involvement though perpetrators deceased. Arkansas solved the 1977 skeleton mystery in 2025, identifying Charles Howard Wallace via Othram Labs advanced testing, bringing identity, if not perpetrator, to light. Finally, the 1991 Austin yogurt shop murders of 4 teens were attributed in September 2025 to deceased serial killer Robert Eugene Brashers through DNA and ballistics, ending wrongful conviction, shadows, and granting families long-denied peace.